You are listening to Resilient Life, the podcast where we explore the power of resiliency. I'm Naketa Ross. It is my hope that listening to this podcast will give you the tools to connect with and increase your resiliency. So join me on this adventure of self-discovery and self-love. Hello, Resilientites. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Resilient Life. Are you ready for this week's guest? I'm going to start by asking you, do you want to be called doctor? Do you like to be called by your first name? Please introduce yourself. Tell us how you love to be addressed. Even if you have people I don't know will call me doctor, and people I love call me JaNee. So you tell us how you want to be addressed and tell us a little bit about yourself, anything you feel comfortable sharing. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I am Dr. JaNee Mobley. I'm affectionately known as Dr. JaNee, and I help women in corporate America who know that they have a gift to share with the world and teach them how to create a profitable business while overcoming mindsets that prevent profit, progress, and prosperity.
Oh, do it again. Give me those three again. I like
Profit,
that.
progress, prosperity.
Oh, I love that. And how did you come
Yeah.
up with that?
Well, I'll be totally transparent. When I initially started my business, I was one that said what I wanted, but my way of thinking didn't believe what I was saying.
Yes.
Right. So I
Yes.
believe somewhere in me, I desired success, but there was something on the inside of me, the stories I was telling myself because of experiences and the way that I saw myself at the time, that I literally convinced myself that it wouldn't happen. And once I developed the mindset, I began to shift my mindset and accept that I can have what I desire and I deserve it regardless of what I've done.
Yes.
And once I realized that, I said, you know what? I know that one of the main reasons that people do not succeed in
Yes.
business
Yes.
is because of the positioning of their thinking and
Yes.
the place of their beliefs.
Yes.
So I don't just teach my clients how to build a business, I teach them how to build themselves because I know that when you build yourself, building the business will be easier.
Wow. That is so accurate. I am in a place where I'm learning that. I have a friend visiting me for the week, and we were discussing it, and we were just this morning saying how we need to go in deep and even pick up those unconscious thoughts and beliefs about ourselves as far as like success, health, wealth, relationships, all of those. Because when we are saying we want these things, but they're not manifesting, it's like, okay, what are we truly believing about whether or not we deserve it, whether or not we have access to it? So things, I love that. I love that. That
Thank
is so
you.
great. Tell us how someone would connect with you to start either building their business, but it sounds like, because not, if we think about it, we always say build your business, but not everyone is an entrepreneur. Some people do not have that desire. So it sounds like your services are even just helping people be the best at the jobs they're in and feel more fulfilled. So how would people connect with you?
Sure. Well, I always say get a taste, right? Before
Mm,
we begin to purchase anything, before we put our dollars anywhere, we want to sample. We want to see if this is the place that we need to put our money, right?
yes.
So, one of the areas that I am really big on is YouTube. So, I'm under Dr. JaNee
Oh,
Mobley. I'm
okay.
on Instagram, it's Dr. JaNee Mobley. Like, get all of the sampling content. And I'm also, for
Yes.
those of you all who are active on Facebook, I'm under Dr. JaNee on Facebook. That way you get to see, okay, who is this woman? Let me see if she's consistent, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of the times, people are hesitant about investing their money because we know
Yeah.
majority of the time we determine where we put our dollars based on the brand that we know, we like, and we
Yes.
trust, whether
Yes.
it's our experience directly or through the experience of someone else. So definitely make sure you go over there and get some of the free stuff. Get some of the sampling to see whether you even want to be with this lady or not, right?
I like that. I like that. I like that.
I also have a video series that's called "The 5 Mistakes That Women Make That Prevent Them from Profiting from Their Purpose," and
Oh,
you can
wow.
get that. I believe I shared the link with you, but it's drjanee.net/5 mistakes.
I love that. Thank you.
You're
That is
welcome.
really
Thank you for
awesome.
asking.
No, of course. I freaking love that. I think that's awesome. What I really love about it is I actually subscribe to a different, what is it called? People who help you get your life together. Life coach. I don't
Mhm.
like that moniker. So I describe to people who like give me tools
Mm.
and tricks and life hacks to help me be a better human.
Mhm.
And very few of them look like me.
Got
And
you.
so what I really love about what you're doing is like, yes, there's someone out there who's doing it who looks like me. And no shade, not saying that they're not doing a good job because they are, but it's just like this extra connectedness for me personally.
Ah.
That representation matters. And it's like, okay, I would assume that there are certain things culturally that
Mhm.
is just automatically there that a black woman could share, and that experience can
Mm.
resonate with me even more. And so I really appreciate that you're occupying that space. So thank you
Yeah,
so much for
thank
that.
you. Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so passionate about it because I realize that the struggle is real for so many
Yes.
people. And
Yes.
because I survived, not survived it, but because I existed in it, because I
Yes.
wasn't living, I was
Come
existing in
on.
it
Come
for
on.
so long. And
Mhm.
now that I have gotten the tools, I am going to help as many women who are willing,
I
so
love
that
that.
it will be a rippling effect, because it's not
Yes.
about us, but it's about those who will come after us. It's
Come
about
on.
those who are looking to us,
Yes.
even whether it's your children, whether it's your nieces, your nephews, or maybe somebody who's watching you virtually that's looking
Yes.
up to you and you have no clue about.
Yes. Come through, legacy. Come on. Come on, legacy.
Yes, 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 yes.
I love that. So, Dr. JaNee, tell me, how do you define resilience?
Oh gosh. So the way that I define resilience is, one, it's personal, and
Oh.
it's the way that we persevere through some of the greatest challenges while identifying the lesson in the season.
Oh my goodness. That's new. That's an add-on. That's the first. Okay, come on.
Oh, it is.
Yes. Yes.
And the reason why I say that, and you may ask me, you if you want to, I can go into detail. But and I'm not sure if I shared this with you, but in 2012, I was fired from my job. My husband and I lost just like our place of living. Our vehicle was
Oh
repoed,
wow.
and
Oh
we
my
were
goodness.
homeless for maybe about a little bit over a year. And it was during that season of my life that I literally walked through resilience. Still walking through some things, but that was
Yes.
really the biggest
Yeah.
area and the
Yeah.
experience where I really had to walk through resilience.
I was going to ask you, based off of your definition of resilience, do you feel resilient? But you already just let me know. You walked through that. You said, because it's in the definition, right? You said I walked through it. So you
Mhm.
let me know I fully embodied it. It was not easy. One of the misconceptions about resilience, as I talk to people, is that resilience means that obstacles happen and you're just like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm resilient. Everything's fine. And that's not it. So can you talk a little bit more in detail about how you embodied, how you learned to be resilient and what that journey was like for you?
Well, I'll be honest. The foundation of my brand is built on my relationship with Jesus Christ. And
Yes, always be honest.
I would be totally lying to you if I said I did it by myself. It was literally my relationship with
Mm.
Christ, because I understand that there are a lot of believers out there who
Mhm.
say that we believe Jesus Christ. However, lack a relationship. And when we
Mm.
think about marriage, when we think about friendships, the strength of our friendships and our marriages come through the interacting of relationships. How do we interact? We conversate. We may not talk every single day, but there's still a dialogue. There is still some type of interaction to deepen that connection. And it was through my relationship with Jesus Christ and the people that I surrounded myself with,
Mhm, mhm.
me always working on myself, that increased my resilience to be able to soar through what was one of the most challenging experiences of my life, because I had never been homeless before. Right. And
Yeah,
at the same time, I was married. I had a doctorate degree. So for me, that was like an ego check
yeah.
because look, girl, you homeless with a doctorate degree. And
Wow.
then to find out not too long later, that I was pregnant with our son.
Oh my
So
goodness.
not only were we going through this, it's something different when you're bringing
Yeah.
children into the
When you're bringing
world.
life into the world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that gave me a whole nother level of resilience to
yes,
persevere, because it's
yes,
not just about you, JaNee, but it's
yes,
about the person and the people that are coming after you, where you have to demonstrate this thing. You got to
yes,
demonstrate that you believe. You got to demonstrate that you know that this right here is not permanent. It's just
yeah,
temporary.
yes.
So that's when I began to identify and find out, what is it that I need to learn from this?
Mm.
And once I answered that question, and it was an ongoing question. Now, there were times where it was challenging. My husband and I bumped heads because
Mhm,
and one of the things,
mhm.
and tell me if I'm talking too much,
You're not, you are not. Please keep
but one
going.
of the things that people, like you were saying, they don't share the
Come
challenges
on. Yes,
along the way.
yes,
We want to see people, because people want to
yes,
see the success. But what
yes,
happens is when you have people who are just starting out in entrepreneurship, just starting out in life,
yes,
and maybe young and has never experienced any challenges on their own, they're thinking something wrong with them because they don't have it perfect and all together.
yes.
But I'll be honest to say, I cried. I
Come
was
on.
frustrated, right?
Mhm, mhm.
But after that, I realized, okay, this is where I developed skills to build my health,
Come
because I
on.
had a friend who had a workout studio, and she didn't charge me to come in and exercise,
Wow.
right? I volunteered. Although I was homeless, I went in and used my gift to be
Yeah.
able to empower other women. It's like, well, Dr. JaNee, how can you do that? Well, I know that if I'm giving something, the law is that it's going to come back to me anyway.
Oh, come
And
on.
it did.
It always does. It always does. Yes, because that's the law. It does, and people don't even realize it, but sometimes we think that it has to come back the exact way we gave it, and so when it doesn't or immediately. So if it doesn't happen
Right.
immediately or the exact way we gave, we're like, "Oh, it didn't come back." It always come back. It's a law. It
Oh, yeah.
always comes back. There's a thing that you said that I wanna, circle back to.
Sure.
You said during this time, you worked on yourself.
Oh.
And I love that. There's this thing that I keep hearing from guests over and over
Mhm.
again of, "Yeah, I worked on myself," or "Yeah, I started reading books," or "Yeah, I wanted to." Not everyone does that. And I'm trying to
Mm,
figure out, is it something that's innate in certain people, or if it's something that happens that triggers that? Because I know a good amount of people who don't work on themselves, don't,
mm,
and no shade at all.
right.
Everyone, we all had different paths. But I'm just curious as to why there are certain individuals who are driven to improve, grow, change, whatever that adjective we want to use. And there are certain individuals who are comfortable, complacent, or
Mm,
fear the change. I don't know what it is. But for those who say, I worked on myself, and each person who said it in whatever variation, it's always been like, yeah, I just did it. And I I do that as well. And so that's how I'm catching it when I'm hearing people say it. But I am surrounded by people who don't. And I'm trying to
yeah.
understand what is it? Is it something that's innately in you that was like, yeah, it's time for me to work on myself during this
Mm,
challenging session? Or is it something that you feel like God told you? Is it innate that God tell you? Is it just What triggered that working on yourself? Have you always been that way?
Okay, so let me answer the last question. I wouldn't say that I've always been the person that worked on myself because I
Okay.
had low self esteem. I lacked confidence. I was in self doubt, right? And that stemmed from the opinions of other people. So it wasn't until I probably transitioned into college and even more so as I transitioned out of college that I realized that there was something more to me and for me,
Mhm.
even outside of my degree. And I didn't realize that that was a mindset of prosperity until I actually started teaching on it, right? So when we
Mm.
think about a mindset of prosperity, one of the key areas is progression.
Mm.
So if I'm progress, I'm not staying where I am. I'm
Correct.
taking necessary steps to get to something that's even greater,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So
Yes.
when you have a mindset that you realize that this, even where I am right now, although I'm grateful for it, it's not a
Yes.
permanent place.
Yes.
And I believe that the way that God created us is that we are constantly growing and becoming better in some way.
Mm.
So I connect that to my belief and my relationship with
Mhm.
God because I understand that He's the creator of the universe.
Mhm.
So, in
Mhm.
Him being the creator of the universe, and He's always giving people ideas to build
Mhm.
something better, to do something greater, then
Mhm.
guess what? I'm His creation. So, I'm made
Mm.
in that same way.
Come on.
So, in order for me to get the more, in order for me to
Yes.
get the greater, in order for me
Yes.
to be more impactful, I
Yes.
got to become better.
Yes.
And just to add, even in the seasons where it wasn't so great, I realized, and I'm always recognizing, even as a wife and as a mother, I
Mhm.
can't control everybody all of the time. But what and who can I control? I can
Me.
control my emotions
Yes.
and I can control me. I can't
Yes.
control how you're going to respond nor react, but I
Yes.
can control how I respond and how I react.
Yes. Yes.
So for me, I wouldn't say it may have been innate. Maybe it's something that awakened to me when I was receptive to it, but I embraced
Mm.
it as I got a little bit older.
That makes sense. I love that. So I'm hearing that maturity piece, that willingness, that openness, that wanting. I'm hearing so many things. So one of the things I want to touch is that mindset shift, right? You said when I started to have that mindset of prosperity. And so there seems like there's this underlying mindset of what's the opposite of lack, lack, lack,
Mhm.
lack mindset. And I did struggle with that. And I think about that. I'm realizing as I'm talking to people that I am becoming more passionate about Black women. So women in general,
Mhm.
we are taught that our value lies in our beauty. Are
Mm.
you pretty? How long are your lashes? How long is your hair? Is your body perfect? We're taught that that's what we have to that's one of the main things we have to contribute to society. And so I'm surrounded by women, including myself, who
Mhm.
focus on projecting that beautiful image. I want to be surrounded by women who are saying, I want to be as beautiful on the inside, or I even want to feel as beautiful on the inside as I do on the outside. And
Mhm.
so I started that by saying, I'm realizing I'm more passionate about that with Black women. Women in general, but I have a little extra specialness for Black women that I want because I'm working on that. And I'm just
Mhm.
like, I want to be surrounded by women who are also working on that. Yes, let's look good on the outside because it makes us feel good, not for others.
Mhm.
But also, if I just have on t-shirt and whatever that's not making me feel how do I feel about me when
Mhm.
I'm by myself? If I
Right.
don't have on lashes, if my hair isn't styled perfectly, if I don't have my makeup done to the gods, how do I feel? And so I'm very, very passionate about that. And that's why I love bringing on people who build up other women. So that's why. So thank you.
You're
Thank you for that.
welcome. You're
I love
welcome.
that. Like every time I bring on beautiful women who are making the world more beautiful, it lifts my soul. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
What made you smile today?
Oh gosh. Gratitude.
Oh, please
Um,
elaborate.
and this is just, I have conversations with myself. And my husband, when I say that, my husband used to always laugh at me because he was like, you always talking to yourself. And my sister was like, I said to my sister, and she was like, what are you talking about? One of the ways that I navigate
Mhm.
through either inner toil or challenges is I have to acknowledge where I am.
I like that.
And the power in that is I get to release whatever was trying to hold on to me.
Mm.
And I think one of the things that people have mastered, and I think it's something that has carried on for generations, whether it was in your family or whether you were surrounded by other women in this
Mhm.
case who were taught to put the lipstick on, wear the hair, dress to the nine, and
Mhm.
nobody should ever see you go through or sweat through
Oh,
anything,
yes. I
right?
forgot about that lesson. That lesson was taught. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So for me, I was the opposite. Like I'm trying to dispel that because I observed those women struggle with addiction, struggle with identity.
Mm.
And
Yes.
one of the things that I understand is that what we don't deal with will deal with us
Mm.
regardless.
It will. It will.
So even
Another
if you
law.
put
Yes.
yeah, even if
Yes.
you put on the makeup and now
Yes.
you put on the lashes and you put on the foundation and you
Yeah.
put on the hair.
Mhm.
And here's the thing, you still jacked up on the inside.
Come on. Yeah.
And what people don't realize is that how can you want to serve what I like to call from a full cup, a cup of
Mhm.
wholeness, a cup of peace, a
Mhm.
cup of joy, not a
Mm.
cup of bitterness, not a cup
Come
of
on.
anger, not a
Jealousy,
cup of self
deceit.
doubt.
Mhm.
And this is why it's important that we must heal first before we talking about serving somebody else. You
Come
got
on.
to serve you first.
Come on.
I said yesterday, how can you expect to lead somebody else when you ain't lead your own ship?
Woo. Yes.
And these are
Yes.
things that I deal with consistently with myself always.
Mhm.
Because I can't expect to lead clients. I can't expect to lead a team of people if I'm jacked up. Because guess what? Those team of people and those clients gonna end up being jacked up in some area because I ain't whole.
Yeah.
So that whole superwoman complex that people have, coined as not wearing your emotions on your shoulder. No, let's be honest about where we are so we
Yeah.
can heal and our daughters and our sons and our husbands can heal
Yeah.
too.
Yes. There's this thing of vulnerability and how we've been taught that it's weakness and it's not. Let's be vulnerable. Let's be open. Let's help each other heal. Because when we're vulnerable, it allows us to be more compassionate when others are
Absolutely.
vulnerable. I am with you 100% on everything you said. Amen. I love it. I love it. Dr. JaNee, how do you celebrate yourself?
Gosh, I literally, how they tell you to give yourself a pat on the back? I'm a pat on the backer and I'm like a
Ooh.
congratulator. Like even when I'm exercising, because I do Leslie Sansone's walk the pound sometimes, or if I whatever it is that I do, like I'm like, girl, you did that, like literally, because I realized there was seasons in my life, especially when I was a young girl, that I didn't celebrate myself. And what happens
Mm,
is if you're not careful, you're looking for somebody else to affirm you and to congratulate you. And I'm like,
validate
girl, you did it.
you.
Like, even
Come
last
on.
night, I'll be honest. Like, sometimes I don't feel like going live. Sometimes I don't feel like doing stuff that's needed for my business and just to be a wife and a mom. But guess what? When I do what I need to do, I congratulate me and it makes me feel amazing. It gives me that boost to keep going because I'm not looking for somebody else to tell me, oh, great job. If
Mm,
they do, thank you. I appreciate it. Right. But
yes.
I
I
literally tell
say that.
myself
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
congratulations.
ahead. Yeah, yeah.
No, I literally tell myself congratulations. Like even after this podcast, congratulations.
I've said this so many times. I started the podcast so that I could have tools for others, but
Mm,
I get so much from my guests. You just poured into me because I do not congratulate myself. I'm actually
really?
pretty hard on myself. I am, my oldest teases me or talks to me about how hard I am on myself. I'm like, oh, I did that, but it could have been better, or it was all right.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I do not. And so thank you for,
You're
I'm going to
welcome.
do my best. It's going to be a transition, to transition from being hard on myself. Or the other thing I'll do is if I've done something like I did that, check next. And so I'm going to try to implement. So you just spoke, I need you to know, you just spoke right directly into my soul.
Oh, you're
I felt
welcome.
that. I felt that. And I need to do better at that. We are always learning and growing. We never stop learning and growing. And I'm going to do my best to implement that because I want to be kinder to myself. Right.
But why
And I think
don't
you know
you?
that I'm learning because it's me unlearning. Adults weren't kind to me, and so I didn't learn to be kind to myself. So it's me unlearning those things. Does that
Got
make
you.
sense? And so I'm learning that. And so I'm going to try to congratulate myself. I do talk to myself a lot, like talk through things. And
Mm-hmm.
people tease me like, "What are you doing?" I'm consulting the expert. Of course, that's what I'm doing. And that's what I say. But I have not picked up that congratulating myself and thank you. Like you
Mm.
don't even understand how you just spoke into my soul right now. So thank you for that.
Oh, you are welcome. And can I give you a perspective?
Yes,
Okay, I haven't started my own podcast because it's a whole production.
it
Okay.
is. It
And
really
I have
is.
a whole husband and 3 small children at home. And because I understand the effort that it takes to put something like this on, the fact that you are consistent with it, you have a whole
Oh, thank
system
you.
set up to make it smooth,
Thank
not only
you.
for yourself, but for the guests. You honor people and
Thank
your brand
you.
enough. All about perspective and the position of our mindset. You honor yourself and your brand and your guests enough to make it a smooth transition for them to come on your show. Then after
Thank
that,
you.
you have to create, that ain't it. You got to create the graphics, you got to market
You
this
do.
thing, you
It's
got
true.
to share it, you
It's
got to,
true.
and you
Edit.
got to post it on all these different
Yes.
platforms.
Yes.
Baby, let me tell you something. Every step of the way, girl, you did that.
Thank
Like,
you.
you did that. You did that.
Thank you.
So
Thank you,
honor
Dr.
yourself because, and here's the thing, and then you can tell me again if I'm talking too much.
You are
You
not
can air
talking too
all this because
much.
I could care less. Um, remember that our children learn more by demonstration than they do
Yes, they do.
conversation.
Correct. Correct.
So the
Yes.
more you congratulate yourself, oh baby, them children gonna
Oh,
be
stop
rooting
it.
themselves on.
Stop it. I didn't even
That's
think about it that way.
oh yeah, yeah. That's an added layer of
Oh, it
responsibility.
is. It is. My goodness, thank you so much. And I wanna circle back to what we
Sure.
talked about earlier about, when you give it out, you get it. I absolutely love pouring into people. I actually call it
Mm,
giving people their flowers while they're here instead of waiting till they're gone, and I do that a lot, and you just gave me my flowers. Thank you. See, it
you're
came back.
welcome.
And
See?
I don't do it to get it back. I do it because it feels good when I do it, and it just came
Yeah.
back. So thank you.
You're
I appreciate that.
welcome. You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much. Okay, so you ready for this question?
Sure.
It's morning and you are feeling yourself. You're like, yes. What's the theme song that pops into your head?
Gosh. When you just asked that question, Mary, Mary, go get it. You remember that old song? Go get it, 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 go get
Yes.
it, go
I
blast
forgot
it.
about that song. Yes.
So, and the reason why that popped up is one, it gives me energy. Like it gives me that pump. And it makes me realize that God has given me all power, might, ability, and strength to go out and get everything that He created me to have.
Oh.
So, in order for me to have it and obtain it, guess who got to go get it?
Not your husband, not your best friend, not your pastor or your preacher. That's right. That's right. No one's saving you, boo. Yes. Yes. I love that. That's a
Yeah.
really good one. And usually what I like about that question is I get introduced to so many new songs and I don't usually know the song that the person, but I did know that song. So that was actually really cool. And I actually like Mary Mary. I like them. They're really good. Tell me this.
Mhm.
What have you learned about yourself recently?
Oh, ooh, that I like to be in control. And so much to the point where I like to be in control of how everything goes,
Mm.
almost to a fault. Because the
Mm.
downside of that, now we do need to control our emotions. We do need
Mhm.
to be able to control how we respond.
Mhm.
But when you set goals, you determine what you want to accomplish, but you don't necessarily get to control how fast the outcome comes. So in the process of doing what is necessary to achieve the goal, I have gotten sometimes frustrated because I want to control when it happens, how it
Yes.
happens,
Yes.
and the timing.
Yes. Yes.
But I realized, girl, sit your behind down.
Yeah.
Like, be
Yeah.
patient in the process,
Right.
because the process is what's going to help you to persevere, and
Yes.
gives God the opportunity to perfect you in areas that you need to be perfected so you can have what you say you want.
Come on. Come on. Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah.
So there's this thing of that I'm learning. I'm a recovering type A because I had to have control.
Ah.
And that caused me so much stress and anxiety. And so in my beliefs, I would say I'm more spiritual than religious. And so like
Mhm.
I incorporate a little Buddhism, I incorporate a little Christianity. Like it's just it's the things that I pull together to help me feel whole. And the biggest lesson is like surrendering. So it's like, yes, it's this balance of I'm manifesting slash working to make it happen, but also surrendering to how it comes to me, which includes that timing, what it looks like. Because I'm like, yes, I want this, just for as an example, I want a house
Mhm.
and I want it to look like this. And then I get my house and I build it and I'm like, I like it. It's just different than what I thought. And it's like, bro, you grew up homeless. Really? You didn't have a house growing up? Like, literally, you grew up homeless, and you're gonna say that's not the perfect shade of blue, for real, Naketa? And so those things, right? So learning to be grateful, go back to that gratitude that you talk
Mhm.
about, learning, surrendering to not that control. It's like not nitpicking and just being grateful and surrendering and trusting the process. That one's hard for me, right? That timing piece, that trusting. It didn't
Mhm.
happen right away. I wanted a house and it took literally 6 years before I got it. So
Mhm.
that was hard, right? To trust that. And so I get it. I'm saying that to say I totally understand and I'm getting better with that trusting process, but it sneaks in like, hey, I've been praying for this for a minute. What's going on, Jesus?
Mhm.
We talked about this. And so I like because I incorporate in my beliefs, I believe that it's all one and we just choose like, do we want to call this Jesus? Do we want to call it God? Do we want to call it Allah? I honor all of that, right? And so I'll switch it up. I'm like, universe, what are we doing? Jesus, we talked about this, right? And so because I believe it's all one. And so I'm like, we talked about this. And I always get back, relax, you're okay. You're safe. You're okay. So I can resonate with what you're saying. So I get it. I totally get it. And thank you for sharing that. I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome.
What brings you joy?
Peace.
Ooh, please elaborate.
I can buy whatever I want to buy,
Come on.
right? I can
Mm-hmm.
make the money I want to make. I can do the things majority of the time that I want to do, but I can't buy peace. And I value it.
Yes.
I value the peace that I create, and I value the peace that I have because
Yeah.
I can't buy it.
Yeah.
So that brings me the greatest joy.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I mean, anybody can go out and make money, but there are people out there with boatloads of money and have no peace.
Yes. I would say peace is a very broad term.
Mhm.
Will you define for us what you mean by peace?
The opposite of chaos.
Mm.
So that can be the absence of mental chaos,
Yes, there it is.
the
There it
absence
is.
of emotional chaos,
Yes.
the fact that I literally love myself
Yes.
without makeup on, without
Come
lashes
on.
on, even though I
Yes.
wear it,
I was gonna say,
right?
and it's okay to wear it. Yes, yes, yes,
I
yes,
wear it without the nails, without all of the stuff. Like, I really genuinely like
yeah,
myself.
yeah,
I love
yeah,
my life. I'm
yeah,
grateful for it. And that is peace for me.
yes, yes.
That's peace for me. Like, even I always we have a rule. My mom used to have this rule when we were growing up, that after the world has beat you down, home is where you should be able to come and get the greatest peace ever.
Mm.
And adding to that, after I separate myself from other people because, again, I can't control other people, but I can
Correct.
control me.
Correct.
Even in the midst while you may be acting foolish, I still have peace,
Come on.
right? I know how to
Yeah.
withdraw or separate myself
Yeah.
from chaos, even if
Yeah.
you are the chaotic one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's the importance of having internal peace, spiritual,
Yes.
mental, emotional, so that even when you separate yourself from external factors, you
Yeah.
still have a reason to smile
Yes. I love that.
and rest.
Yes. There it is, that peace. So very similarly, when I think about peace, I think about like this calmness,
Mhm.
this quietness, and this ability to be by myself without that mental noise, for lack of a better word. But for me, it went in stages. First, I had to create a peaceful environment. And so
Mhm.
that's not how I grew up. There was lots of noise,
Ah.
and not necessarily music, because music can be peaceful. And so that's why I want to clarify when we're discussing what that peacefulness is, noise, which caused me to feel anxious, or it had my nervous system
Mm.
activated. So that alertness, we'll use that word. And so I would be on alert. And then so I had to learn to make my environment calm.
Art. Mhm.
And then I had to learn to be calm in here. Because then it's quiet now in my house. And I'm like, oh, it's too quiet. I need noise. Like, let's turn on a show. Let's so I gotta
Oh.
move. I can't, right? And so it happened for me in stages. And I would imagine
Mm.
for those who have not found that level of peace yet, it's okay to go in stages. Don't feel like it's like cold turkey and peaceful, and don't beat yourself up if you're peaceful in this area but not in this area. Baby steps, take your time. And then once I had my environment quiet, and I had to learn to say, okay, okay, Naketa, hi, how's it going in there? What's going on? And so that was next for me, right? But then I had to learn to say, oh, I think I like her. Hey, Naketa, I think I like you. How's it
Mm.
going in there? At first, it was like, I don't know you. Who are you? And why are you saying all these mean things? And so now I'm learning to say, oh, I like her. And now I crave that alone time, that peace, so that I
Mm.
can reconnect with myself. So thank you for
You're
clarifying that. I really
welcome.
appreciate
You're
that. That's
welcome.
awesome. When do you let your inner child out to play?
Oh
So that
gosh.
could be silliness, that could be just cracking jokes, whatever your inner child looks like for you. When do you let that inner
Look,
child?
I've been doing it for the past couple of how long we been doing this? For the past couple of 30 minutes.
I
Because
love that.
with children, there's really no cap. There's
Yes. Filter.
no filter at all.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I mean, as adults, you know what not to say, right? Or
Yes.
you
Yes.
should know what not
Yes.
to say. But I learned to do it in my personal time. I learned to do it when I'm in a relaxed state. And that's just a part of who I am as a personal brand. I love to
Ooh,
have fun. And
yeah,
here's the thing, this is my purpose. This is what I'm called to do. And if I can't
yeah.
enjoy it or let my inner
Mm,
child out while doing the very thing that God created me to do, what's the
yeah.
point? What's
Oh,
the point? What's the point? And that's just how
oh.
I see it. What's the
Yes,
point? I mean,
yes.
this is a gift and it brings me joy.
Okay, I like that.
So yeah, every chance that I can get, like I do it with my oldest, and he gets so embarrassed. But he gets so, mama. Look, I'll drop them off and get out and start dancing and start.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, because I want them to, again, children learn more by demonstration than by
They
conversation,
do.
and I want them to understand that you can enjoy your life without people placing limits on you.
For people who haven't been able to connect with their inner child, or they don't even know how, do you have any words to share with them on how to do that?
Well, for some people, their inner child is trauma. When they think
Mhm,
about their childhood, it's
mhm.
trauma-based. The
Yes.
foundation is built on trauma.
Mhm.
So being able to go back to a place that was traumatic for them
Mm.
is hard,
I
right?
never
They
thought about it that way.
equate being a child to the terror that they
Yeah.
experienced
It
growing
wasn't a
up.
safe space. Yeah.
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 But here's my thing. you have to first acknowledge. My sister and I had this conversation this weekend, and I agree that I say this, you cannot heal something that you don't acknowledge is wrong. And I think
Mm,
people are walking around with weeping wounds
mhm,
because they don't want to acknowledge
mhm,
that something
mhm,
is bothering them.
mhm.
And the only way that you're going to get the joy and the peace and experience the joy of an inner child is when you embrace what is your greatest pain,
Oh,
even if it
yes.
stems back to your childhood.
Facts.
Because
Yeah.
in order to kill a tree, you can't just chop off the leaves and the fruit because it's going to grow back.
Mm.
You got to pull that sucker up out of the
You gotta get
ground
to the
and make
roots.
sure
You
that
gotta get to the
part,
root.
that part.
Yes. I had a guest, and she gave this phrase that I said I was stealing, and it's appropriate time to steal it right now. She gave me permission. She was amazing. And she said, in order to fill the void, you have to feel the void, right? And so
Mm,
you can't feel to pour in that void until you take the time to feel it, to experience it. And I was like, that is it. That's it. Like that's it. And it's exactly so I'm noticing now this recurring theme that is it. We have this difficulty as humans of addressing and facing and
mhm,
feeling that pain and but we're stuck. When we don't, we're stuck and we can't grow and we can't heal because we won't get to use your words, the root. We want to get to the bottom. We want, yeah,
mhm,
yeah. I agree with that. And so what typically happens is we will numb or we'll go on autopilot. And so we'll numb with food. People don't realize how much we numb with food. We'll numb with
mhm.
food, we'll numb with alcohol or drugs or sex or whatever. Again, no judgment. But
The
I'm
truth.
noticing this, yeah, but I'm noticing this pattern of we don't want to feel that. We don't want to experience that or relive it. And so it's like, I'm going to do all these other. So that was very, very insightful and very it was confirmation. So thank you for that. I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. You're welcome.
Tell me this. How is your self-talk, which I know your answer. Are you challenging negative thought?
Yeah. I would be lying if I said no.
Okay. Okay.
Because here's the thing. In order to progress, you have to step out of your comfort zone.
Mhm.
And that means what it is that you know and you're comfortable with and that you can do without having your eyes closed.
Mm.
So, for someone who is excelling, because I always look at myself as excelling
Mhm.
and progressing, which means I have to step out of my comfort zone. What does that look like? In all transparency, that's pitching, that is calling people
Mm.
on the phone and having conversations
Mhm.
about sharing with them what it is that I do, right? And putting yourself in vulnerable places. So I have to have those conversations to remind myself, girl, you are the solution to somebody's problem. So
Yeah.
you must you got to step out of your
Mm.
comfort zone. You got to pick up the phone. You got to open up that laptop and share who you are. You got to tell people the solution that you have to their problem. So I'm all
Mm.
like a lot of times I'm giving myself self-talks because
Mhm.
I know that there's a greater level for me
Mhm.
to accomplish. And if I don't overcome the conversations that are trying to stop me from the very thing that I know that I should be doing, I'll remain
Mhm.
stagnant.
Yes. And I love that, and you made it sound easy, and it's not. And
No,
I don't mean that as an insult to you, and I hope I did
it's
not offend you
not.
when I said that. What tools would you have, practical tools that you have for people who struggle with that negative self-talk? What can people do to challenge those negative, thoughts and words that come up?
Here's the thing, and it goes back to understanding that you got to acknowledge that it even exists. So many
Mm.
people are trying to progress or move forward when you haven't even acknowledged
Mm.
where you are. If we look
Mm.
at the steps to recovery, they tell you that's the first thing you have to do. You have to acknowledge that this is how you feel. If
Mm.
you are afraid, then you may not say that you're afraid, but you have to
Mhm.
acknowledge that this is how you feel in the moment, right?
Mhm.
If it's uncomfortable, this is
Mhm.
uncomfortable. But here's the other thing that I always remind myself of is, and I tell my clients this when we work through mindset, is that you have to understand when you're moving in a place of purpose that you have a solution to somebody's problem. So even if you're working on a
Mm.
job, you still have a solution to
Mm.
your company's problem. So if you
Mm.
don't step up and make people aware, which
Mhm.
means that you have to overcome the conversations in your head, and
Mhm.
this is what happens, people get stuck
Yeah.
in the thought
Yes. Yes.
instead of realizing that we have the power, the might, and the ability to make the shift out
Mhm.
of, and here it comes. So you
Mm.
have to acknowledge and then you have to make a decision that you're going to shift.
Mm.
See,
Don't
we,
stop at acknowledging.
yeah. So you
Yeah.
got to acknowledge this is how I feel.
Mhm.
Two, you got to make a decision that I'm not going to stay here. See, what
Yes.
happens is people stay. They stay in the self
Oh.
doubt, and here's the thing: when you don't move, it's like sinking sand. You sink in the thought, you sink in
Mm.
the mindset, and you begin to believe the stories that you are telling yourself or somebody else has told you. So
Yeah.
you got to acknowledge that this is how I feel.
Yeah.
Number two, you got to make a decision that I'm not going to stay here. And number three,
Mm.
you have to take action. So ADA. So acknowledge, make a decision, and then take action on
Action.
whatever it is that you're trying to be talked out of. So as an example,
Oh.
because I'll tell on me, as an example, because I always believe in entrepreneurship, you
Mhm.
are taking leaps in some way, shape, form, fashion, a whole lot.
Correct.
And I remember because I do transformational Mondays on YouTube. And I remember when you go live, like, especially when you go live in a setting where anybody can jump on, right? And thank
Mm.
God I'm a person who's very secure in how I look. Like,
Oh,
I'm not
no.
my hair. Like, I'm gorgeous and
Correct.
I know it, right?
Yes.
So
Yes, you are.
somebody came on and for like maybe 3 or 4 live straight, different
Uh-oh.
people came on asking, "Is that a man? Is that now?" We all know I don't look like no man, right? We all
Wow.
know. Okay. Wow.
Oh,
And I
wow.
persevered like through the live, like, and it was so funny. It was so funny because I'm still me. So it
Yeah.
was so funny. And I used to in that moment, I confronted it because I'm usually not I wasn't a confrontational person. But then there were people who were going in on the people who were trying to go in on me.
Good. Good.
And I'll be honest, after I ended it and I had to go live again like the following week, it was like, okay, there's probably gonna be somebody on there. But here's the thing I realized, I was like, JaNee, again, there's somebody who's looking for a solution to the problem that you solve. And the more you
Mm.
show up, you show them that
Oh.
you know how to persevere even through what may seem uncomfortable, right? Because
Mm.
there's somebody looking at me who's like,
Mm.
she's still talking and these people
Yeah.
still being stupid, right?
Yeah.
So I realized
Oh.
again, I acknowledged how I felt. I made a
Yeah.
decision that I wasn't going to stay there and I took action. I
Yeah.
went right back on there and went live.
Good job.
So it's
I love
something
that.
that, again, is not easy,
Yeah.
but you
For
have
sure.
to make a conscious decision that you know that there's more and you're going to do what it takes. You're not going to just sit there and do all of the talking and
Yeah.
then not do
Yeah.
nothing.
And not walk the walk. Yeah,
Oh
yeah, yeah.
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 Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
I have to be the example because guess what? I'm coaching other women to do the same thing. So guess what? I got to be the first partaker.
That's right. That's so true. That's very true, for sure. What is something you're proud of?
I'm proud of the fact that I didn't plummet
Mm.
through the challenging times because I could have stayed. I could have sulked in sorrow, but
Mm.
I wouldn't have the life that I have. On
Yeah.
Thursday, I'll be 42 years young, thanks
Okay,
be to
okay,
God.
little
And
sis,
uh,
little sis.
um, so I am so proud of the fact that I soared in the midst of what may have seemed sorrowful for other people, just so that
Mm.
I can be the light to help somebody get out of their darkness. And that's what
Yeah.
I'm proud of. Like I wake up every morning, and yes, and here's the thing. I am proud of being a wife. I'm proud of being a mom, but before I can be a proud mother and a proud wife, I got to be a proud JaNee.
Oh,
I got to
come on.
congratulate JaNee.
Come
And that is
on.
something that
Come
I work
on.
on, because
Yeah.
I can't show up for everybody else if I'm not showing up for me.
Yes.
So I'm so proud of myself that I
Yes.
continue to show up every day and be the amazing person that God created me to be. And I haven't
Mm.
even scratched the surface
Mm.
of this amazingness.
You don't even understand how you pouring into me right now.
All about,
Thank you. I appreciate that. What is the healthiest thing you've done for yourself?
gosh, the healthiest thing. So I believe that in order for us to remain physically healthy, we have to be internally healthy.
Oh.
So, really taking care of me mentally and emotionally and
Mm.
spiritually is the
Mhm.
healthiest thing that I have done. The healthiest thing. Like
Yes.
I'm very aware of my emotional health and my mental health. And because of that, it helps me to take better care of my physical health. I remember some years ago, I can't remember the gentleman's name. He was one of the fitness coaches, I believe, on The Biggest Loser. He had, was it a heart attack?
Oh,
I cannot remember his name, but he
I've never
did.
seen the show. Okay.
Yeah, he
Okay.
did a commercial, and you would look at him like, "Oh, this man looks amazing." But I realized something internally was off,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not all about physical. You got to take care of your internal self.
Yeah.
So that is the healthiest thing that I've ever done for myself, is take care of my mental and emotional health. And what does that look
Oh.
like? Okay, because I'm sure that's like the next question, because I want to make sure I'm vulnerable. I pray a lot,
Mhm.
and I see
Mhm.
a therapist. I remember
Oh,
one of the greatest gifts. My father passed away when I was 15.
I'm sorry.
And one of the great I was a big daddy's girl. Like, my dad used to feed me. I was
Mm.
good and probably 14 years old, and my dad was feeding me. And one of the greatest gifts
That's
that my
such a
mother.
blessing, by the way. That's a
Thank you.
blessing.
Thank you. I'm so,
Yeah.
so grateful. So grateful.
Yeah.
That is even a story of resilience. And one of the greatest gifts I always say that my mother gave me was a therapist. When I had,
Mm.
because it exposed me. You know how people say, well, culturally, Black people don't see therapists. And I'm like,
Mhm.
well, how
Yeah.
the heck? But that wasn't
Yeah.
my story.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That wasn't my story,
Yeah.
because my mother
Yeah.
exposed me to therapy. So when I
Yeah.
had our daughter, I remember feeling anxious one day.
Mm.
And again, being aware and acknowledging where I
Mhm.
was, I'm like, okay, where is this
Mhm.
anxiety coming from? Because I know that it's
Mm.
just a symptom of something that's underlying. And I immediately went, I prayed, I was like, God, please send me the right therapist. And
Yeah.
I signed up for therapy, and I worked with
Yeah.
the therapist shortly after I had my daughter. I worked with the
Mhm.
therapist into my next pregnancy, because during that time, COVID was like just coming in, and I was sheltered in place with two and a
Mm.
half children and
Yeah.
homeschooling, and life was just,
Oh.
and trying to build a business, and it was just
Oh my
different.
goodness.
Yeah,
That's
so honey,
different.
look,
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
that looks like, a therapist. Pray, and
Yes.
also use
Yes.
the gift that God has given people of therapy.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
What I love about that, Dr. Jenny, is I've talked to Christians who are like, I don't need a therapist because I have God. God's going to deliver me. God's going to deliver me. And I'm learning to mind my business, but inside I'm like, God created a medical doctor to help you. You don't say that about the medical doctor. You don't say, oh, my ankle is broken. God's going to heal it. Why do we do that about our mental health, about our emotional health?
Well,
And so, go ahead.
I I think, and let me let you finish your thought. Let me let you finish your thought. Go ahead.
That it was basically finished. I was just going to acknowledge that you are a professed Christian, and you're saying, I know that both things are true. And I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm a huge believer in it. Like
Yeah.
therapy, because they both go collectively. God gives
Hmm.
the gift. right? So we still go to the therapist. We still do the things that the exercises and the coping skills that the therapist provides. Now, the thing for me that was a blessing, my therapist was also a believer. So she would intertwine the word of God with the strategies that she provided.
Yeah.
So it was really bringing the two in. And that's the key. As a believer, find a therapist who is a blood bought believer who will give you the skills according to the word of God to
I
help
like that.
you with whatever it is that you're going through.
Yeah. And so what I love about that is that connection. You got what you prayed for, number one. And number two, like that connection is it's different kinds of therapy. And so for those who want a scripture-based therapist, they exist. For those who want EMDR or talk therapy, there's so many. And so there's like this plethora of options to seek that help that we need. And I am so pro therapy. I don't think I ever did an episode without mentioning therapy. So thank you for doing it on my behalf. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So we have gone through all of the questions.
Yeah.
I want to give you I want to give you time to share anything that I did not ask or anything that you want to cover before we end the episode.
End with this. We've shared a lot of content, both myself and Naketa. We shared some strategies, we shared some words of wisdom. And one thing that I always say, and I've observed, and I used to be that person, I would go to events, listen and grab all of this content only to leave and not implement anything that I heard. So in simplicity, because that's the type of coach that I am, I want you to identify one thing, one takeaway that resonated with your spirit that you can go out and actually do. Because there's no point in gathering all of this amazing content if you're not going to go out and at least do the very thing that you learn. We're not going to overcomplicate it. Take one thing. Now, if you're that person who got to have a list, make a list of 3 things and circle the one. Once you've mastered the one, come back and master the other 2. But I want you to go out and implement. This is your life. And the only way it's going to change again is if you take the reins and you use your might, your strength, and the ability and the power to go out and do something better.
I love that. That is an absolute perfect way to end the episode. Thank you so much for watching Resilient. I hope this episode gave you some tools to connect with and increase your resiliency. I'm proud of you. Let's keep up the momentum. Follow Resilient Life on your favorite podcast platform and on YouTube at Resilient Life Podcast. Until next time, be kind to yourself and others.